Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Preaching is the Essence. So, preachers are most pleasing in the eyes of the Lord. Confidential devotees of the Lord are very much dear to the Lord because they travel everywhere to preach the glories of the Lord in different capacities and try their utmost to convert the non-devotees of the Lord into devotees in order to bring them to the platform of sanity. When one becomes a non-devotee or non-believer, it is to be understood that the person concerned is not in a sound condition of life. The confidential devotees of the Lord treat such illusioned living beings, and therefore they are most pleasing in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita that no one is dearer to him than one who actually preaches the glories of the Lord to convert the non-believers and non-devotees. This is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse 38. What is this? Namam dushkritino muda prapadyante naradamaha maya parhita jnanam asuram bhavam ashritaha. So Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita that there are 4 kinds of people who don't surrender to Krishna. Krishna uses very strong words. He says, so he uses the word, how does the verse begin? I forgot again. Namam dushkritino. So dushkriti means, Dushkriti Prabhupada says it translates rascal. Prabhupada uses the word rascal, dushkriti. Dushkriti means, kriti means activity, dushkriti means mischievous activities. So one who performs, miscreants. So Prabhupada says that dushkriti is rascal. Why? Because he does activities that are not supposed to be done. And what does Krishna specifically say he is not doing? He is not worshipping him. Therefore Krishna calls him dushkriti. And of all the activities that is supposed to be done, one is supposed to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one does not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then whatever activities one may do, it's all shrama eva hi kevalam. It's a waste of time. So Krishna calls such people dushkriti. Then muda, he calls them fools. Why does Krishna call them fools? Because they don't understand that the aim and purpose of human life is to worship Krishna. That every living entity as part and parcel is meant to worship Krishna. They're fools because they don't see impending death. They don't see the cycle of birth and death and how they will get entangled in this. So they're fools. Nara Adama. Krishna uses another word, lowest of men. Lowest of men means animal. So why are they called animals? Because they're only interested in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The 4 activities that animals are interested. They are not interested in self-realization. So Naradama. Then Maya Aparhita Jnana. Śrīla Prabhupada gives examples of Maya Aparhita Jnana as scientists, rascal scientists and philosophers. Why Maya Aparhita Jnana? Because they try to explain this world in a manner that is disconnected from Krishna. They try to explain the functions of this world in a manner that is disconnected. The scientists very much, generally, when you go to a science museum or scientific papers, one of the most common themes that you will see pictures or depictions is you will see a black sky littered with stars and some globes floating around. Because they like to give the idea that when they give that kind of an image, their projection, the idea that they want to project onto us is that there's nothing above there. It's somehow or the other we exist, and there's no God. Like when the Sputnik was first released, the first man who went into space was a Russian guy. I forget his name. But he went up and he went up there, he looked around and he came back and he said, I went up there, there's no God. I didn't see God, so there's no God. So that was his conclusion. He went up, he saw something black and he came and there's no God. This is not very logical thinking. Just because you enter a person's house and the owner is not there doesn't mean the owner doesn't exist. You didn't see him. That doesn't mean the owner doesn't exist. You enter a shop, the shop's open, but there's some other employee. It doesn't mean that the shop doesn't have an owner. So, very logical. But they think they're very intelligent. They're called Maya Aparhita Jnana. So their intelligence is covered by Maya, taken by Maya. And they give various explanations, like Darwin gives explanation, how everything evolved, evolution. But again, there's no proof. There's so many problems with their own theory. And it's incompatible with what Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't make any logical sense. But the whole world follows it. Why? Maya Aparhita Jnana. Because their intelligence has been covered by Maya, and therefore they think they're very intelligent. So the preachers of the Lord try to convert these 4 categories of non-devotees into devotees and bring them to the platform of sanity. So all these 4 people, Krishna ultimately, they're insane. Because they're not worshipping Krishna. So when one worships Krishna, he becomes sane. Prabhupada writes this in the Science of Self-Realization. In the first article, he says, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to bring about a revolution in the consciousness of the people of this, I'm paraphrasing, of the misdirected civilization. So Prabhupada uses these words. It brings sanity. Is there any comments or something we can take? Otherwise I'll proceed to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 30. Sa eva idam sasarja agre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sat Asat Rupaya Cha Asau Gunamaya Agunaha Vibhuhu Sa evedam sasarjagre Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasat-rupaya chasau Sadasat-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Saevedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Saevedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Sevedam sasarjagre Guno vibhuhu Sevedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Saevedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Evedam sasarjagre Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Evedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Saevedam sasarjagre
Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasad-rupaya chasau
Gunamaya guno vibhuhu Saevedam sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Rupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhuhu. Okay. Before I start reading the word to word, I'll be going through several verses in the 14th chapter of the Gita. So if anyone wants to keep copies of the Gita, then please get them if you like. Saha, that, eva, certainly, idam, this, sasarja, created, agre, before, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Atma Mayaya, by his personal potency, Sat, the cause. Asat, the effect. Rupaya, by forms. Cha, and. Asau, the same Lord. Gunamaya, in the modes of material nature. Agunaha, transcendental. Vibhuhu, the absolute. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. Purport. The position of the Lord is always transcendental because the causal and effectual energies required for the creation of the material world were also created by him. He is unaffected, therefore, by the qualities of the material modes. His existence, form, activities, and paraphernalia all existed before the material creation. He is all spiritual and has nothing to do with the qualities of the material world, which are qualitatively distinct from the spiritual qualities of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utav Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sevedam Sasarjagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sadasau Rupaya Chasau Gunamaya Guno Vibhuhu. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. So, after stating that Vasudeva is the ultimate object of knowledge, the purpose of performing sacrifice, the aim of yoga, is all austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma is for rendering loving service unto him, and that he is the supreme goal of life. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam explains how Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created everything. It is the origin of everything. That Vasudeva is the origin of everything. So, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita states, Aham sarvasya prabhava matha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So, Krishna states that Aham sarvasya prabhava, I am everyone's Prabhu, I am the master of everyone. Aham sarvasya prabhava. And then matha sarvam pravartate, everything emanates from me. Iti matva bhajante mam, and those who know this, they worship me. Buddha bhava samanvita, because their intelligence has been perfected and they're absorbed in transcendental knowledge. So, Krishna is the origin of everything. Now, that which is stated so clearly in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not understood by most people who worship God, or who consider themselves as theists. They do not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. So, here in this verse, it is stated, if you look in the word to word, it's stated that Sadasaut Rupaya, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Atma Maya, by his energy, by his potency, he creates Sadasat Rupaya, that he creates forms and cause and effect. So cause and effect and forms here refer to when anything has a cause and effect, it is material. That which is caused, the cause and effect, which is later stated, Gunamaya Guna, that Gunamaya, the modes of material nature. So these forms that were created by the Supreme Lord, they are within the three modes of material nature. They are created within the three modes of material nature. What are the forms that the Supreme Lord created? What are the forms that he's talking about? Any suggestions or thoughts?
Different bodies.
The different forms of life. All 8.4 million species of life were created by the Supreme Lord. This comes later in the chapter that we'll be reading, chapter 14, that all the forms that were required for this material world were created. So herein, we don't accept Darwin's theory. It was not that the forms were created at a later stage of creation. Everything was created in the beginning. Then what is the evolution that's explained in the Vedas? The Vedas explain the evolution is that of the soul. The soul evolves in consciousness, but we also understand that it can devolve also. So Dutta Karma Prabhu, Śrīla Prabhupada's disciple, he explains how he's written a book, Human Devolution, where he explains how humans have not evolved, but that they've actually devolved. How have humans, that the current understanding is that humans are the top, they're the best. But Dutta Karma Prabhu explains how no, we've actually devolved. We've fallen from the spiritual world. So our consciousness has become degraded. And so we have devolved, we've not evolved. So then he first, it's very, the way he's written that book is very interesting. And he first starts with archaeological evidence, smashing Darwin's theory, and then goes on to explain how consciousness evolve. There's an evolution of consciousness as one goes higher and higher on the species of life. And ultimately he explains about spiritual consciousness and how we fell down from the spiritual world and how we are meant to attain love of Godhead and go back to Godhead. So it's a very interesting presentation. Unfortunately, as expected, although it's presented very logically, scientists don't like it. So anyway, but then Krishna, from what we read in the scriptures, he has a form. Krishna has a form. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, has a form. But it's stated here that Sadasad Rupaya Chaso Gunamaya. So the forms that were created by him are all material. Then immediately the next word that's stated in this verse is Agunaha, transcendental Vibhuhu. But he is transcendental. Although he created all these forms, and although he has a form, he is transcendental. He is not affected by the material modes of nature. This is very, very important to understand, very fundamental spiritual knowledge. So let's go into chapter 14, and we'll read the translations and some segments of commentaries here and there, and then we can see how the modes of material nature, what Krishna is stating in the Bhagavad Gita. So the first verse, Krishna states, Parambuya pravakshyami jnananam jnanam uttamam yajñātva munayas sarve param siddham itogataha. I shall declare unto you the supreme wisdom, the best of knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained the supreme perfection. So by understanding this knowledge, why should we learn about this? Supreme Personality of Godhead created. It's not about us. It's about how he created the universe, how this creation happened. Why should we learn about this? Because when we learn this, we attain the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge. And by doing so, what do we attain? Supreme perfection. So this supreme perfection is what we're all endeavoring for. Because that supreme perfection will bring us to the platform of eternal happiness. So in the next verse, Krishna says, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, what is the result? One can attain to a transcendental nature like that, like my own. So in the Sanskrit it said, Mama sadharmyam agataha. That Mama sadharmyam, that he attains to a transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born in the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So, if Krishna has a material form and we worship that material form, then what is the benefit? There is no benefit. But Krishna is stating one attains a form like him, a nature like him. That means Krishna is transcendental to material nature. That means he is not material. He is spiritual. Otherwise, why will you worship him? So, Krishna says he attains a transcendental nature like my own. And what is the benefit of attaining such a transcendental nature? One is not born again. One is not born in the cycle of birth and death. One is not born at the time of creation. One is not disturbed at the time of dissolution. So the reason why material forms are affected by the cycle of birth and death is because material nature is something that is created at a particular time and is destroyed at another time. So this means that it is temporary, whereas Krishna's nature is eternal. So by attaining, so when Prabhupada writes in the purport over here that those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from material activities of the material form, the spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegatedness. Because even here it's stated agunaha. Agunaha means no guna. But what type of guna is being referred over here? The guna is referred as guna maya, is referred to the modes of material nature. Sad asat rupeya. So there is duality. So this duality doesn't exist. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is no form. Otherwise, why will Krishna state attaining a transcendental nature of my own? And also in another section of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna glorifies Krishna as Purusham Divyam. He uses these two words. He says you have a form, and he uses the word Divyam, which means you are transcendental. So, Prabhupada writes here, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, in the spiritual world also there is variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety. But in actuality, in the spiritual sky, one attains a spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. So, thus one who develops spiritual qualities is not affected by either the creation or the destruction of the material world. So, by worshipping Krishna, one attains that form. Okay, so then how is this material nature created? Krishna explains in the next verse that Mamayonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham Sambhava Sarva Bhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharata. That this total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making it possible for the birth of all living entities. So how does the creation happen? The creation happens by that there's different universes. There's Brahman. There's the Brahman, which is here where the material substance that Krishna is referring to as Brahman is in the Bhagavatam referred to as the Mahatattva. So the Mahatattva or the Pradhana. So Pradhana, and then after the impregnation it becomes Mahatattva. So the Pradhana, which is the material nature, is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impregnated with what? The jivas. We spirit souls are impregnated by Krishna into this material nature. So Prabhupada explains how material nature by itself has no activity. That's why the scientists are flawed. They say that all these bodies were formed by themselves. But material nature can't do anything by itself. This house, this building, this would have not formed by itself. But when a jiva, the spiritual spark, comes in contact with material nature becomes activated and assumes many forms and qualities. So Krishna impregnates the material universe with the jivas, and thus the material universe comes into existence. And so who does that? It's Krishna. It's not Durga, it's not Shiva, it's not, here Krishna says, I impregnate. Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma. And then Krishna states in the next verse, Aham Bija Pratapita, I am the seed giving father. So then Krishna explains about the material modes of nature. But then later in the chapter, Krishna states that this is where it's very important to understand where Arjuna asks, what is the symptoms of one who is known, of one who is transcendental to these modes, and what is his behavior, and how does he transcend these modes? So why do we need to transcend these modes? Because these three modes entangle us in the cycle of birth and death. So in Vedic culture, this is very, very important, that one always has to be thinking, how can I get liberated from the cycle of birth and death? How will I become free from the influence of the modes of material nature? So, to answer Arjuna's question, Krishna states that Mam Chayo is a very famous verse. Mam Chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Mam, Krishna uses the word me, to me. That one who engages in Mam Chayo avyabhicharini. This was, I liked the way that Sri Vaishnava Sannyasi was explaining it. Avyabhicharini, that, this word vyabhichar. Vyabhichar basically means prostitution. So, he says that, this Sri Vaishnava Sannyasi, he was explaining it very nicely, that this word is a very strong word. You don't expect this kind of language to be used in a spiritual discussion, especially in Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all the Upanishads. You don't expect this kind of language. But why is Krishna using it? Because Avyabhicharini Bhakti refers to unalloyed devotional service unto Krishna. That one is not supposed to think, maybe I could worship Durga, maybe I can worship, Ganesh, or maybe I can worship this or that, Sai Baba, and all this kind of things. You cannot. If you do that, you will not that is not called Bhakti Yoga, because before he even uses the word Bhakti Yoga, Krishna uses this word Avyabhicharini. Oh, yes, I have so much devotion to Sai Baba. You don't have. That's not called Bhakti. That's not called Bhakti. Now, even in America, this has now become very popular. Bhakti Fest. And they sing, Om Shanti Om, and all this kind of things, and this is, they sing Shivoham, and then all these kind of, and there's all these famous so-called Western Kirtaniyas, and Krishnadas, and blah blah blah, and all these kind of people. They sing all sorts of things. You see, this is Bhakti. Because in India also they think this is Bhakti. They think that Bhakti means you can worship any god. But no, Krishna doesn't define that as Bhakti. It's not Bhakti and it's not Yoga. Yoga doesn't mean you draw a circle and then you meditate on that. Or you have Ganesh and you meditate on Ganesh. You think that's Yoga. No. Yoga means you have to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You don't meditate, imagine that there is a bright glowing ball of light within your heart, and when you breathe in, that ball grows big, and then when you breathe out, that ball becomes small. And imagine that ball fills your very being and is emanating and glowing from every pore of your body. All sorts of stupid imagination. It sounds very nice. I'm imagining, and then when I'm breathing, there's some big ball that's becoming bigger, and then when I breathe out, that ball is becoming smaller, and then suddenly the ball bursts, and I take some LSD, and then I feel even better, So it might feel great, but you are not going to transcend the modes of material nature. You are not going to transcend the three modes of material nature. Therefore, you will not get out of the cycle of birth and death. Similarly, therefore, Adi Shankara, he states in this famous song, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, Samprapye Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukkrintarane. That he says, this was famously his last instruction to his disciples before he disappeared. He sang this song before, but before he left, this was the last thing he told his disciples. So he says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate. You, oh fool! Worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. He uses the word 3 times. It's very interesting that he uses the word Govinda, because it's full of qualities. He doesn't use a word like, Brahman or something like that, which just means existence or eternal or something like that. He uses the word Govinda, means the protector of the cows, or one who controls the senses. So these are very specific qualities. It's a quality. It's a word filled with qualities. He uses the word Govinda. Mudamate. What does he say? Samprapya sannihite kale. That at the time of death, your beautiful word jugglery, nahi nahi rakshati dukrin tarane, that in Sanskrit you can play around with grammar, and Shankara's commentary is actually full of this. But he states this is not going to help you at the time of death. Your word jugglery would not help you at the time of death. So all this kind of feelings, this, that, some nice words, this is not going to help us. Peace and love, this is not going to help us at the time of death. Peace and love, no peace, no love. Yamaraj will come and his Yamadutas will come and you can preach peace and love to them and they'll teach you what is peace and love. By whipping you for all your sinful activities and taking you to Yama's abode. That's what happens. It's whether we like it or not. Therefore, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it's too much for several people. They can't. It's too direct. Especially when it comes to the 5th canto, it's so graphic, and it's like wow, I don't want to read this, but we have to read because this is reality. The 3 modes of material nature means what? What is that verse? Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajacha adho jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. That urdhvam gachanti sattvastha, that if I am situated in the mode of goodness, urdhvam gachanti, I will go above. I will attain higher forms of life. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajacha. That if I'm situated in the mode of passion, I will remain on the earthly sphere, where passion is most prominent. Jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. And if I'm situated in the mode of ignorance, adho gachanti tamasaha. What is ignorance? Ignorance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ignorance of the purpose of human life, ignorance of how to worship Krishna. It will not save us. Adho gachanti tamasaha. We will go down. So this is very serious. It's very easy to become very callous in spiritual life, to take things for granted in the material world. Because especially when one becomes a little pious, one becomes a vegetarian, one's life is a little regulated, life becomes a little less stressful. So then people think, what is the need? But no, it's not going to help you transcend the modes of material nature. And what is the risk? Those who are transcendentalists, they understand that as long as I'm controlled by the modes of material nature, even if I'm situated in goodness, Krishna explains here in this very chapter, he says that it's always mixed. So there's always some level of passion and ignorance mixed. That unless one is transcend the modes of material nature, one is always susceptible to be influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. Therefore we see these examples of these great saints, great rishis, great munis, like Vishwamitra, trying so hard, making many endeavors for penance, tapasya, to transcend. But still, when who was it? Menaka. The 2 people appeared. Ramba was next. So, who got cursed as a stone? Anyway, I forget. So when one of the apsaras appeared in front of him, he lost it. And then he had sex with her. He had a child. And then suddenly one day he was like, what am I doing? And then he looked, several years of his life had passed. And all the effects of all his previous penances were zero. Then he had to begin again. So that is the problem with the modes of material nature, that when one does not practice bhakti yoga, which is avyabhicharini, which is unalloyed, directed only towards Krishna, whatever spiritual activities one may do is subject to being degraded by the modes of material nature. Therefore also we have to understand that when we sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate, that by practicing devotional service we will attain that state, brahma bhuya, brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu Mad bhaktim labate param. That, okay, it's very nice. So we have the modes of, what is the characteristic of a person who is Brahma Bhuta? Brahma Bhuta, in that stage, he is Prasannatma. He is very happy. Prasannatma. Na sochati na kankshati. He does not lament. And he is not kankshati. He does not hanker. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu. He sees all living entities same, in the same way. What does that mean? He sees everyone a servant of Krishna. Because that's the actual vision. Not that, everyone is equal in the sense that, you erase distinctions between even bodily things. Oh, man and woman are the same like the feminism. There's no difference. There's no difference between the genders. Genders don't exist. Male is a social construct. Female is a social construct. This is not the Brahma Bhuta platform. This is ignorance. Another type of ignorance. That everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna, the servant of Krishna. That is Brahma Bhuta. So, samasarveshu bhuteshu. But then the main characteristic, mad bhaktim labate param. He considers devotional service unto me his greatest possession. Param. He considers labate, that he has obtained, that the fact that he has obtained devotional service, he considers that as supreme. He considers devotional service unto me as supreme. So, these so-called transcendentalists who try to equate everything, like this, this Ramakrishna, he states, yatomat thatopat, means all paths lead to the same thing. Whatever path you like, yatomat, whichever path you imagine, yatomat thatopat, that is your path. And then what does his disciple say? Who is his most famous disciple? Huh? Now, who is Ramakrishna's most famous disciple? Good, you don't know actually. Vivekananda. This is Ramakrishna's most famous disciple. He is the one who started the so-called Ramakrishna mission, and they have societies like Vedanta society. But what is his Vedanta? What did Vivekananda state? He said that one is closer to heaven by playing football than by reading Bhagavad Gita. He actually stated this.
That's Siddhantic.
Where is this stated in the Vedanta? Where is this stated in the Bhagavad Gita? What sort of absurdity is this? Huh? He says that we have to be fit, so you have to play football. And he actually says in his commentary that with your biceps you will understand Bhagavad Gita better. He actually writes that. With one's biceps people can understand Bhagavad Gita better. Then all the fellows who are in the gyms would have become self-realized fellows by now.
Brothers.
Such absurdity, and this guy is known today as a great enlightened, philosopher and thoughtful person and representing the whole of India's spiritual culture. What is he presenting? He says it's better to grow eggplant than tulasi. Why? Tulasi, what can you do? With eggplant you can survive, right? You can eggplant. If you eat eggplant, so your tummy gets full. With tulasi, can you fill your tummy? No. It's so crazy. Tulasi has more medicinal properties than eggplant. Is actually a really crappy vegetable, and he uses that as an example. And he is called. This is the parampara. That this is the wonderful, the wonderful, transcendental ignorance that is passed down in the Ramakrishna parampara. Because why? Because it's not even a parampara. Because Ramakrishna never had a guru himself. A self-styled guru. What is that? One who has no guru has his mind for a guru.
One who has himself as guru has a fool as a disciple.
Yeah, one who has himself as a guru has a fool as a disciple. So, he speaks very nice. That talk where that thing where he writes that it's better to play football than to. He doesn't even say it's better. He says you're closer to heaven. It's so stupid. It's so stupid that you don't even want to refute it, because it's an insult to even refute. It's an insult to give him importance to refute that. Because if you have something, if you're discussing some philosophy, then maybe okay, this states in this Upanishad, that states. But this guy says, this is why we need to distribute Śrīla Prabhupada's books. Because Śrīla Prabhupada's book smashes this ignorance. Śrīla Prabhupada doesn't allow, he doesn't give room for this. So, this kind of nonsense is kicked out of human societies, kicked out of the brain, and it's called brainwashing. Because this sort of stool has to be washed out of the head. So, how come people are? This is because there are cheaters and the cheated. So but there are people who look for this. Why? They are attached to playing football. They want to play football. That's the aim and goal of life, is to play football, or is to enjoy their senses. Basically, they enjoy their senses and avoid surrendering to Krishna. They don't want to surrender to Krishna. So you have all these people who are giving these kind of philosophies, and people just buy them. So therefore, it's called the society of the cheaters and the cheated. But the Vaishnavas, they don't cheat. Therefore, they are very dear to Krishna. They don't cheat. And people don't like them because they don't, because Krishna, I read Prabhupada, I have to surrender. My God, I have to give up all my attachments, all my misconceptions. Or is that Sakalamevam vihaya dhurat Chaitanya Chandra Charane Kurutanu Raga. That how does that begin? No, how does it begin? Anyway, forget. Kritva Chakakushatameta Barbimi. Anyway, so he says Prakashananda Saraswati states, no, not Prakashananda, Prabodhananda Saraswati.
No.
Prabodhananda Saraswati states that Sakalameva Vihaya Durat, Prabhupada writes, and give up all your hogwash. Prabhupada uses this word. He uses this word hogwash. It's really strong words, but Krishna is using avyabhicharini. He's using this word. Don't be a prostitute. One who is not a prostitute, which basically means that because what is Krishna talking about prostitution? No one is having sex here. But the idea to just keep going and picking knowledge from every single fellow, going and reading anything and everything, accepting anyone and everyone as enlightened people and taking their knowledge, which is contaminated by the modes of material nature, Krishna calls this as vyabhichari. This is vyabhichari. So, that explanation by that Sri Vaishnava Sannyas, that was very nice. That reflects the mood also. Bhakti means your unalloyed devotion to Krishna. And by doing so, one can transcend the material modes of nature and attain Krishna. And by this, all of one's desires are fulfilled, and one becomes peacefully situated in his ecstatic, loving, devotional service unto Krishna. All glories to His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupada, who gave us this wonderful knowledge. So I'll stop here. Any questions, comments?
Since you brought up Ramakrishna, I just wanted to glorify the glorification of him that you did by repeating a few things Prabhupada said about him. One thing Prabhupada said that he had so much sex with his wife that he became impotent, and then he called his own wife his mother.
Yeah.
And another thing Prabhupada said that this moron Ramakrishna was so much into the oneness conception of philosophy, that once someone went up to him and asked him, hey, is everything one? He said yes. So then is halwa and stool one? He said yes. So will you eat stool? He said yes, and he hates stool. So he's a stool eater. And another thing is the word vyabhichari.
Hog.
Yeah, he's just like a hog. And another thing, Krishna uses the word vyabhichari 3 times in the Bhagavad Gita actually.
Yeah.
Not one.
Where are the other 2 places?
One is in the 2nd chapter. I was looking that up actually, vyabhichari. One is in the 2nd chapter, and the other one should be in the 8th. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Krishna uses 3 times the sannyas. He mentioned those 3 places
also. He
also.
also
Forget.
says every time the Bhagavad Gita ends, Om Tatsaditi Śrīmad-Bhāgavad Gītāsu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is Upanishad, Om Tatsaditi Śrīmad-Bhāgavad Upanishadsu Brahma Vidya is Brahma Vidya, and there's a Yoga Shastra.
Yoga Shastra.
So in these 3, Krishna uses the word vyabhichari for a very, very particular reason.
It's very, very significant that Śrīla Prabhupada, that Krishna uses that, and here I mean, in the Gita Mahatmya, it's stated, Sarva Upanishado Gava Dogda Gopala Nandana Pato Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat. This Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads, is just like a cow. And Lord Krishna, who is famous as the cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and the learned, scholar and pure devotees are to drink that nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. And then it's stated, this Gita Mahatmya, who wrote this? This was written by Adi Shankara. So, Ekam Shastram Gyavaki Putra Gitam. Oh, why are devotees not reading? Why are you guys not reading Vedas, Upanishads, this and that? Because Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam, that Bhagavad Gita is more than enough. Let there be one Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam. Let there be only one scripture for the whole world. And Eko Deva Devaki Putra Eva, that only one God. Who is that? Krishna. Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Eva, that who is the only mantra is to chant his holy name. And Karmami Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. And what is the activity? Just devotional service. So this is all that's needed. And what Prabhupada is referring to over here, which I wanted to state, is that unaffected by the quality modes, and Prabhupada writes a footnote here, that Sripad Shankara, the head of Mayavad school, accepts this transcendental position of Lord Krishna in his commentation on the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Narayana Paro Vyaktat, that Narayana Paraha Avyaktat, that Narayana is transcendental to the unmanifested. Here, unmanifested Avyakta refers to the Brahman. Oh, that's actually stated here in the next verse. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the basis. What is the basis? So the Brahman is light. So if there is light, okay, there is light coming from this bulb here. And what is the basis of the light?
The bulb.
The bulb itself. It is the basis of the light. What is the basis of sunlight? The sun. So when Krishna is saying, Brahmano hi pratishta aham, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, that means that his effulgence, that is the Brahman. And that his form, it is the source of everything. Brahmano hi pratishta. Again, it's also stated in the Brahma Samhita, whether Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti. Koti Shashesha Vasudhati Vibhuti Bhinnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhaja. Any other questions or comments?
Unfortunately, I was talking to that crazy Asian lady.
Yeah, Korean.
The Korean.
Oh yeah,
She's funny actually. Yeah, so what? You were talking in Korean?
Yeah.
I thought so. Okay.
No.
Yeah, you could, maybe next time you can find some other Korean people to talk to, but anyway, yeah. So
Anyway, I was explaining to her, I was like, God is, I was saying like, God is omnipotent, right? And she's like, yes, God is all powerful. I was like, so why in Genesis does he say on the seventh day I rested? Why does God need to take a rest? And she was like, oh, God can do what he likes. And I was like, okay.
well, that's true. God can do what he likes. Yes, he's omnipotent. Yes, he's eternal, but he rests as well. Krishna takes rest. That Mahavishnu takes rest. Mahavishnu takes rest. Mahavishnu is always resting, actually. He's basically always resting. It's called Yoga Nidra. This material universe is explained actually to be the dream of Mahavishnu. Because actually we can never be controllers. We can never be like Krishna. We've come into this world, I want to be like Krishna. But our constitutional position is that we can never be like Krishna. But then how can we be like Krishna? In the dream of Mahavishnu. It's a dream. Just like, I want to fly. So then in your dream you fly. In the dream you can fly, but actually you're not flying, and you can't fly. But in the dream, there is some semblance of flying. So similarly, in the dream of Mahavishnu, we are like controllers. We think ourselves as controllers, but it's not true. We're actually not controllers. We get frustrated anyway. So this whole material universe is the dream of Mahavishnu. Krishna is lying down in the causal ocean, Karnada Kasai, Vishnu, and he's dreaming. He actually doesn't even create, It's like later again in these purports, Prabhupada writes, it's very nice the way he writes. He says that it might look, the Prabhupada gives the example, as just like a scorpion lays eggs in rice, and then scorpions come out of rice. Sometimes it's said that scorpions are born out of rice. Scorpions are not born out of rice, because the scorpion comes and lays eggs in rice, and then scorpions are born out of it. But sometimes it's said that scorpions are born out of rice, like just out of common parlance. It's like we say the sun came in.
Yeah.
When sunlight comes in, it's the sun came in. If the sun comes in, what will happen to us? We'll be finished, burned. So the sun didn't come, but yes, the sunlight is not different from the sun. So in that sense, so sometimes it's stated like it might seem as if the jivas are products of material nature, but actually we're not products of material nature. We're impregnated by Krishna. Bhagavad Gita explains how Krishna impregnates. There's a whole process that's explained in the 3rd canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, how the universe was created. This whole thing, how was it created? Yeah. Any other question? Yes.
I had a comment and a question. First, some comment first. I remember some years ago, I don't know if Preacher Prabhu mentioned in the class, or he told me outside the class, but he was saying that one time when Śrīla Prabhupada was traveling or something somewhere in India, there was a big signboard of Siddha Maya body. And he was like this with his arms crossed. There was some Hindi saying, and Prabhupada was asking some of his disciples, "What is he saying?" And then they couldn't read Hindi. And then Prabhupada was like, "What is he saying?" And then no one had anything. Prabhupada said, "He's saying, I'm fool number one because I think I'm God." It's like that. That really stuck with me. And then the question, the question was, Prabhupada says in the purport, and it's also mentioned too in the translation, that he created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energies. And Prabhupada says the same thing in the purport. The causal and effectual energies required for the creation of the material world. So I just wondered exactly, you could explain a little bit the causal and effectual energies and what that actually is. What exactly is being described?
The causal and effectual energies.
Yeah.
There's definitely a more technical explanation to this, but I'm not particularly aware. There's in the Bhagavatam, I don't remember this so well. It's explained very elaborately in the 2nd canto, where there's the first cause, which is the Mahatattva, and then the Mahatattva is transformed again by the 3 modes of material nature. And then it's the Mahatattva, when it comes in contact with the 3 modes of material nature, it generates all the forms. And in one other place, I also remember how Brahma, the creation of Brahma, is one cause, and then his secondary creation is termed as the effect.
Yeah, it's like Visarga and Sarga.
So Sarga and Visarga. So here also the word Sasarja is used. So technical subject, I've always wanted to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it, but it requires, you have to really take down notes and maybe put like flow charts and draw.
Like the Brahma Samhita also, like one way of understanding is the causal effect is Vishnu's glands. The glands comes in the form of Shambhu.
Yeah.
And Shambhu comes in contact with Devi, like Prakriti.
Yeah.
From that Prakriti becomes the effect. That when that union happens, the effect happens. And from that effect, Jiva is impregnated into Pradhan. Pradhan, like Brahma, whatever it's called as Brahman, like the material energy gets into play once that union happens.
Yeah.
So the causal effect is considered to be Shambhu, and the union and like the byproduct after that, is considered to be the effect, the cause and the effect. That's the Brahma Samhita explained like that.
There are different perspectives of this cause and effect in the same creation. It's very interesting. It's very, very technical, especially when one reads the first time the Bhagavatam. Is like, what? sparks are flying on top of my head. It's like, it's just. I remember the second canto was like so hard to cross. It's like
He can't do 3 days.
I was trying to wrap my head around it. Couldn't wrap my head around it. It was just like, oh. But then slowly, this is why, it's so absurd. Vivekananda says your biceps will help you understand. It requires purification to understand this. You have to be purified of the modes of material nature. When you're stuck in the mode of ignorance, you cannot understand these things. It's just, it's too heavy. Like first time when I actually read Brahma Samhita, I was like, what is this? This is, First the English was like so hard. Second was like all these terms and terminologies like really sent me spinning. Then, some years of chanting Hare Krishna, I feel that at least there's some little purification, so this little understanding is there. Yeah, well, you had something else to say?
Kind of, and then also too. So it's described that Lord Brahma, he saw generally, I don't know if it's every time, but he had darshan of the spiritual world, and then he created the material world in that realm of, I guess, of experience. And so when the different bodies are created, I mean, that gives an important question. What was I going to say? Like, it's something else for another time. I have to make a comment on the other thing. So this, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, their missions, were they like, because it's Ramakrishna, it's Vedic, the opposite side, but isn't there like some influence of like the British and Christians?
Yeah, a lot of it. Just recently, Chakrapani Prabhu, our godbrother, posted a picture of a whole bunch of Ramakrishna, sannyasis or whatever, brahmacharis, whatever you want to call them, worshipping a picture of Jesus on Christmas. It's so ridiculous because. Anyway, Hare Krishna. I don't even want to go into the details of it. No one even knows when Christ was born. Yeah. And then you worship Jesus on Christmas. You are supposed to be Vedantists, and you act on so much ignorance. It's amazing. It's just amazing. There's absolutely no scriptural basis for any of their actions. So they've been very influenced by the freedom movement. They became popular actually during the freedom movement because their ideologies, Vivekananda's ideologies were very conducive for the for independence. All these people, Dayananda, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, all these fellows, these very popular people, they have huge missions. They all became Rabindranath Tagore. All these people became very popular in the freedom movement. Because they twisted and they made themselves look very, because the idea was that they actually couldn't get the people of India to do anything without using religion as a cause. Yeah. So they had to use religion as a cause, but actually the Vedic scriptures, just like Bhakti Siddhanta was stating to Śrīla Prabhupada, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Whether India got independence or not. Preaching of Krishna consciousness is independent. This is the actual tattva we get from the from the books, but you have to twist it, you have to turn it, you have to make it look colored, tricolor, and then it sells.
What interesting thing is
Bhagavad Puran.
Just to wrap it up. Prabhupada, like yourself also, you know everything about these rascals. So when we preach, like I didn't know some of the things that you were talking about. I knew about the Abraham.
Oh yeah, that's very famous.
I think they would ask Prabhupada if he knew such and such Swami, and Prabhupada his what do you call it?
Reply.
Yeah, but there's another word. Anyhow, his reply for anybody who really doesn't know too much about these people like that would be, I never heard of them.
Yeah. Or Prabhupada would ask them, what is their philosophy?
Because otherwise you get dragged into
Yeah.
You get sucked up into
Yeah.
those emotions.
Yeah. So what you do generally, what Prabhupada did also was that he would ask the person who's asking, so what is their philosophy? And then obviously they would say something nonsense. And then Prabhupada would smash that nonsense and then just say, see, so the guy's bogus, that's it. Because he's not present. Because if you start getting into the nitty-gritty, then they start quoting something and then you have to, someone was saying, oh, we can't refute all the other bogus philosophies if we don't become well versed in those philosophies. No, you need to become well versed in Bhagavad Gita. Then you ask the other person what their philosophy is, and then by understanding Bhagavad Gita, you can immediately refute them. You don't have to read. You don't have to read. You know Bhagavad Gita, then you've read all the Upanishads. You don't have to read Mundaka, Shveta, Shvatara, and this and that, and all this kind of that. Yeah.
It reminds me of this past time where Prabhupada was like, some angry Indian came in after hearing Prabhupada smashing Ramakrishna or someone, and he's like, I've heard that you said that this guy's a rascal. Prabhupada's just like, oh well, who said I said that? and then he starts asking the guy about philosophy. He starts talking about the philosophy. He's like, no, this is wrong. No. Therefore, I say he's rascal.
The guy is cornered, dude.
No, not Ramakrishna, it's Radhakrishna. The president of India who wrote the bogus commentary.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who
cares
what the name was? It's hilarious. The way he dealt with it, he took it in who said that I said that, kind of implying that maybe he didn't say it, and someone was just putting words in his mouth.
Just this Sai Baba, he was like. It's like, people say, how can you call Sai Baba like that? But then, we were talking to this temple president's wife, and she was telling us this fantastic, really, really horrible, tragic story of how some fellow had built a temple for Krishna and actually made the altar for Krishna. And then this Muslim fakir goes and sits on that altar. And then that guy gets shocked. I mean, in that day and age, to go and sit on an altar that was meant for Krishna, his head should be cut off the next minute. But, Kali Yuga, if there was any Kshatriya like Parikshit Maharaj, he would have come down and cut his head. But anyway, so what happened is, and then this person is asking, this is meant for Krishna and you're sitting on it? And this guy is like, don't you see Krishna in me? And then that guy saw Krishna, and that guy saw Krishna in him, and then therefore Krishna and Baba are all the same, It's like, so the moment you hear this, this guy's a rascal. You don't have to read that Asad. They have this book called, it's termed, the way they give their names is very interesting. The book is called Sat Charitra, which means it's eternal. Sat also means goodness, So Sat Charitra means the good Sat Charitra, Satva, Satya.
Also it can mean eternal pastime.
It is actually Asat Charitra. That's what it is. It's very, 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 very dangerous. These Mayavadis. Okay, I think I'll end my Kalan class. Hare Krishna. Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha